Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. Well, this one I have for you that I'm going to talk about today is happening outside of our country and is happening in one of our biggest countries in the world, biggest continent, the African continent, in the Sudan, where there is an ongoing war where there are thousands of atrocities, rapes, and genocides that are taking place in the Sudan, and there is a continuing war against two separate factions that are trying to control the Sudanese people and Sudan in Africa. And you're not hearing much about it. So let's talk about it. What is the role of outside powers that are playing in Sudan's continued brutal war? So there's a war that's been going on for a number of years that the national media is not talking about in the Sudan. So for more than 2 years, Sudan's military and a powerful paramilitary force have torn the country apart in a war for power, both digging in against peace efforts, even as atrocities mount and starvation spreads. One reason they keep going is the support each reportedly gets from other nations looking for influence. So you have other nations outside of Africa and the Sudan that are permeating this war. And guess what it's all about and what they're after? Natural resources. International alarm has grown since October 26th, where the Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, remember that, RSF, Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, seized the key city of El Shafar in Sudan's Darfur region from the military and reportedly went on a rampage. Witnesses and aid groups say fighters have killed hundreds of civilians and the fate of thousands more is unknown. So over 40,000 to 100,000 people have died in the last couple of years with this silent war that's going on in the Sudan. And I'm trying to bring attention to it. Both the Sudanese Armed Forces and the RSF, remember that's the Paramilitary Rapid Support Force, are accused of committing atrocities throughout the war. The United States says the RSF is committing genocide with repeated mass killings and rapes. U.S. intelligence assessments for many months have found that the United Arab Emirates, a close U.S. ally, has been sending weapons to the RSF. Remember, that's the Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. According to the U.S. official familiar with the reports, who spoke on a condition of anonymity to share details of the classified reports, the UAE, which is the United Arab Emirates, denies backing the RSF. In a statement, it said, "We categorically reject any claims of providing any form of support to either warring party." It said it has supported efforts to achieve an immediate ceasefire, protect civilians, and ensure accountability for violations on both sides. However, on the other side, Egypt is accused of supporting the Sudanese military. So listen to these countries that are all involved in some kind of way: the United States, Egypt, etc. The war began in 2023 when the RSF and the military, which both together ruled Sudan after crushing a pro-democracy movement, they turned against each other. So the RSF, which, as I told you, is the Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, and the Sudanese military, they fell apart. So the conflict, so they're saying the war began in 2023 when the RSF and the military, which together ruled Sudan after crushing a pro-democracy movement, they turned against each other. The conflict since then has killed at least 40,000 people, though aid groups say the toll is likely several times higher, up to maybe 100,000 folks, and has caused the world's worst humanitarian crisis. This is taking place right now. So here's a look at the players accused of having a hand in Sudan's conflict. The United Arab Emirates, the UAE. The Emirates backs the RSF in part to prevent the Islamic groups that underpin the Sudanese military from seizing power, said Hamid Khalafallah, a Sudan researcher and policy analyst. Since the 2011 Arab Spring, the UAE has used hard and soft power to counter Islamic groups across the region, which it views as a threat. The support of the paramilitaries is also rooted in the UAE's imperial ambitions, Khalafallah said. So remember, so you got the United Arab Emirates that's involved in it. You have Egypt, etc. So keep following me. Tiny in size but enormously wealthy, the Emirates supports a network of factions across the region to spread its influence. In long-divided Libya, the UAE has supported forces of the military strongman Khalifa Haftar against Islamic and other militias based in the capital, Tripoli. In Yemen, it has backed southern militias fighting Houthi rebels. It also built ties with Somaliland and Puntland breakaway regions of Somalia. Khalafallah said the UAE wants to expand its influence and that it is better served through paramilitaries outside the state institutions. The RSF, remember that's the Paramilitary Rapid Support Force, originated from the Janjaweed Arab militias that were accused of committing genocide in the 2000s. So this is not the first time we've heard of this RSF group. In a campaign against communities of East and Central African origin in Sudan's Western Darfur region. In the current war, the UN, the US, and others say the RSF has targeted the same communities with mass killings, rapes, and genocide. The US official said 2 intelligence reports issued in late September found that the UAE's provision of weapons to the RSF had increased from late summer into early fall. The reports from the State Department's Intelligence Bureau and Defense Intelligence Agency found the weapons included Chinese armed and unarmed drones, so now you got China involved, heavy machine guns, small arms, mortars, and artillery, the official said. So we're talking Egypt, United States, China. A UN panel of experts said in January 2024 that reports of UAE arms shipments to the RSF, mainly via neighboring Chad, were credible. RSF attacks became more sophisticated this year, particularly through the large-scale use of drones. When the military retook the capital of Khartoum, in April, it was a severe blow to the RSF, but the paramilitary force has since been able to advance in Darfur and the nearby Kordofan region. So a fight fueled by Sudan's resources. This is what this is really all about. Competition over access to Sudan's resources, particularly gold and gum arabic, a key industrial food ingredient, has fueled the rivalry between the military and the RSF and drawn their backers' interest. Each side has helped finance the fight by selling resources in areas under its control. So what is Sudan's cultural heritage has become a casualty in this civil war. The Emirates has provided a crucial outlet for the RSF's business interests and gold sales, according to the UN experts. The U.S. imposed sanctions on 6 UAE-based companies that it said helped carry out gold sales and provide weapons and security technology to the RSF. Gold has also been smuggled out through Egypt, according to the UN. Here again, remember, Egypt, China, U.S. Cameron Hudson, a senior fellow in the African program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington, told a U.S. congressional hearing in May that the UAE has also provided financial support to Ethiopia and Kenya to back the RSF. Now you got Kenya and Ethiopia involved, as well as provided military support through Libya, Chad, Southern Sudan, and the Central African Republic. The UAE, he said, has encircled Sudan in a ring of fire. And Egypt's support for the Sudanese armed forces is rooted in years of close ties between the two countries' militaries. Saudi Arabia and Turkey have also sided with the military in Sudan's war. Egypt prefers a military-run government in its southern neighbor, seeing it as a more reliable ally than a democratic civilian government. With their long shared border, Egypt and Sudan have key strategic interests driven by the Nile River. All of this stuff is biblical, and there's a geographic region that's based all upon God's natural resources. And they say that the Nile River, which snakes through both countries, and their position along the shipping lanes of the Red Sea. Those interests have outweighed Egypt's concern over Islamic influence in the Sudanese military. The extent of Egypt's material support for Sudan's military is unclear, but the Institute for the Study of War says Egypt is likely the source of a batch of fighter jets sent to the Sudanese military in March. And it has also provided it with Turkish drones. So Egypt is right in the middle of this. Egypt has denied providing arms. In an interview this week with NBC television, Egyptian Foreign Minister Bod Abdelhadi said there is no military solution in Sudan. There must be a presence on all outside powers to stop the flow of weapons. There must be a humanitarian truce leading to immediately to a ceasefire. And here's where the U.S. plays in it. The U.S. brought together Egypt, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia in a mediating group called the Quartet, or Quad, to work for an end to the war. In September, it issued a peace plan calling for a 3-month humanitarian truce followed by a 9-month political process. The RSF on Thursday said it agreed to the Quad's humanitarian truce. A Sudanese military official said the army will only agree to a truce when the RSF, remember the RSF is the Paramilitary Rapid Support Force, they would only agree to a truce when the RSF completely withdraws from civilian areas and gives up weapons as per previous in the peace proposals. The Trump administration's point person, Mossad Boulas, senior advisor for Arab and African affairs, told the Associated Press that the U.S. is working with both sides to finalize a truce. When asked if Washington was pressuring the UAE to stop supporting the RSF, he did not answer. Hudson said attempts to push the RSF and the military into direct negotiations have failed. Instead, the U.S. should work to get the outside powers to stop supporting the warring parties. So you have this ongoing conflict and war that's been taking place for the last few years with the RSF and the Sudanese military going against each other and killing innocent civilians. However, you have these outside forces that are allegedly instigating this conflict, whether it's Egypt, China, some of these other countries that are involved in this war that is taking place in Sudan that nobody's talking about, and many thousands of innocent people are dying each day. Where is the United Nations? And the United States always wants to be the big brother to everybody. They should have some influence on stopping this war and these atrocities, these rapes and genocides that's taking place in the Sudan and Africa. This must end immediately. And I'm trying to bring attention to this story as much as possible through my channel. Tell me what you think. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth.